1st Street and Convent Avenue. We're here with the Speak People Show. We're trying to figure out what's going on with this 116th Street revitalization program. Basically, tonight is going to be a lecture, and we're just here to find out what's going on. In the background, there's all kind of diagrams and structural models of what's happening. And throughout the night, we'll be bringing you interviews, just basically trying to get a feel for what's going on. And that's about it. So we're going to try and move into our first interview in a minute. We're here with Professor Lance Brown. He's a professor of architecture, is that right?
That is right.
Right, and what's happening with this 116th Street revitalization program? I noticed the diagrams. Can you explain a couple of these?
Well, this is a series of separate investigations by different teams of people. If you look way up there, there's Team 1. Team 1 was looking at housing, and actually they're over here, Team 1. Team 2 up there was looking at how you could get some theater or performing space into this neighborhood, because everybody seems to think it's really needed.
Yeah.
Team 3 was just looking at how 116th Street could be made more of a public arena, a place where people would like to come and actually hang out and meet and greet each other and use the open spaces, and to a certain extent maybe find some facilities that are missing. Some people called it there were two teams working. One team said, let's make this a civic center. And then another team down there, they said, let's make this a civic center. So we figure if two teams working separately said, make it a civic center, there might be a need. And these were teams that were made up of students in this school, professionals who were donating their time, and people who live in the neighborhood. So it was a sort of a nice platform for a conversation that was, not contentious, you might say. People were really... Well, this was quite a day. This was 8 hours of very intensive work. Everybody looked at all that material, and they looked at all of these models, and they read all this stuff, and they came prepared to have what we called a design dialogue, talking about how to design this. They didn't come to figure out any answers. They came to discuss different questions and begin a dialogue about what might you do in the future. And the hope is, of course, that the people who participated in this, the hope is that the people who come to this show will go away motivated to think about, new ideas, new ways of partnering, new ways of developing. Maybe they'd be more than motivated. Maybe they'd be inspired, So that's part of the hope of this. The generation of this is a combination of looking at issues that are affecting people globally, all over the world. How to help people to empower themselves. How to help people to sustain themselves. How to pay more attention to the role that women play in the society and give them more opportunities. How to take care of older people better. How to take care of younger people better. So while this all looks like bricks and mortar investigations, it's predicated on, and if you spend some time with some of these words, on the ideas of how does community really work, what really goes into making it, and what physical setting do you need to have a society that functions more in its own interest? What physical facilities do you need to help an existing community stay where it is and be nourished and grow and flower? And I think, we looked upon, I think, personally, 116th Street is every street. I mean, certainly it's every street north of 110th Street that people need to investigate.
Do you feel there was like a specific need to target 116th Street? Why, for example, maybe not 135th or 125th? Or, is there a specific reason that 116th was targeted?
Well, I think that there was an initial discussion about, let's look at a whole load of streets. Let's look at 110th, 116th, 125th, 135th, 155th, 181st. Let's look at them all. And then we said, hey, you only have so much energy and you can only focus on so much. 110th Street, as you may know, people are looking at it. They've been looking at it. That's already going to be known as connecting Frederick Douglass with Duke Ellington Circle. There's development there. 125th Street, I don't have to tell you. It's pretty developed. Some of the streets to the north, 135th actually is a quite lovely street. It doesn't seem to have any burning need, although I think someone could look at it.
Right.
But 116th Street seemed to be a little bit that street that nobody was focusing on, that has all the elements that any good center city street should have, and that needs to be, somehow encouraged to develop. And it goes from river to river. It cuts through how many neighborhoods? You probably know better than I. Must cut through 6 or 7 neighborhoods. There's a Mexican community, a Latino community, a Colombian community, a West African community, a Muslim community, an African American community. There's a college up there. We like to call them the Colombians and the Caucasians on the other side. So there's a whole series of communities, and so it represents the richness of the texture of the city. That if you can somehow get a sense of how that works, and a sense of communion amongst those people who represent those different, how do we call them, the stakeholders. All of whom, by the way, I should say, there's a book on this other table that was put together. And for anyone who gets to see this, that's available at the Kinko's on 34th Street. From city to city, the idea of people beginning to get engaged in how to make their communities grow and be healthy. Not how to build one particular building, but how to begin a dynamic that would generate many of those things to fill the vacuum that you and I think know exists in the inner city.
Yeah.
And this is about reclaiming the inner city. So in that regard, it will remain a question to be answered, and it's a time will tell.
Well, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you explaining what's going on here. And I look forward to seeing this happening.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We're here with Rich Gonzalez, a student at City College who helped to work on this program. He's standing with his model. We're just going to try and find out what his part was and see if he could explain this model a little bit. So what was your part in working on this project, and how did you get involved with it?
Well, in this project, what we did, this is located on 118th Street and Frederick Douglass. We first went to research the area and found that it was in bad shape. So what we wanted to do actually was make housing, but also give something back to the community. In this scheme, what we did is in Frederick Douglass, we incorporated retail commercial spaces on this side with the residential in the portion, residential lofts on this side. We've incorporated a community center and a public library. We also did in this scheme was to incorporate some sort of interior courtyard for the residents, also for the community. On the ground, it's the parking level. You could enter from here and here, and right here they're building a community center. So the whole skeptic was just think of how housing is today and how could we improve it, and then from there on, using our ideas and terminology, taking what we learned and improving into this project. So that's pretty much what we did.
And how did you get involved with working on this program? Was this through your class involvement?
Yeah, I am a fourth-year student, and during the fall semester, that was one of our projects that we took. We took a scheme for about 4 months of researching and designing. So from there, with the charrette and everything, you gain the experience, take what you know, and then incorporate it into your design.
Do you think you can explain how this would come into action? How this kind of how this schematic would become reality, and what kind of resources that would take within the community?
The first thing we should do is the community should all get together and take action, know what's going on. We're starting here in City College, but I believe this exhibit should go out into the community spaces where they should see it for themselves, where they should come together as an organization and then tell governmental officials that this is something they want in their community, and therefore it should be passed forward. Things like that, with community action, the community involvement, it's what's important and it's a need to make these things reality.
I asked the professor the same question. Do you feel that there was a specific need to target 116th Street, or was this something that could be applied to every major cross-section in the Harlem area, like 125th, 135th, or 45th? Or do you feel there was a specific need to target 116th in particular?
Well, 116 was just taken upon us, as a surprise, but it's just a stepping stone. You first start with 116, and then once you see involvement there, then you could go to another neighborhoods, and little by little, there will be an improvement within the, uptown Manhattan and Harlem area. And then from there on, it's a stepping stone, take step by step, so, until you see an actual involvement.
So what's your goal? What do you want to see happen from this project? And how much further do you think your involvement is going to take you in terms of this?
In terms of this, it could take me into to being a residential architect, where I could just want to, keep on doing more investigating until we could actually have some real involvement in real building in this area and just help the community into improvement.
So you think projects like this help you, like, revitalize your interest in the subject that you're studying?
Oh yes, it is, because I'm also a resident in the Harlem community, so I would also like my community to see what's going on and have improvement.
Well, thank you a lot. Thanks for your time, and it's very interesting. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, he is.
What do you take from this exhibit? How is this affecting you?
Affecting me? How's it affecting me? What is this for? Nostalgia? Yeah. This is the first time I've been here for the last year or so, and what I'm looking at seems pretty interesting. It's nice to be back here and see work.
You think there's something you might want to get involved with, helping the planning and the actual execution of this program?
Actually, as an alumni and one who graduated from City College a couple of years ago, I'm trying to get a teaching position here. So yeah, I would love to be a part of it. Yeah, I said that. Yeah. I went to Columbia after doing undergraduate here, and it's nice to come back home. This is where the roots are.
So you think this is good to try and revitalize the neighborhood a little bit, try and make things more positive, look more positive, and then maybe that'll cause the inhabitants of the neighborhood to want to act more positively?
Nothing better than doing that. Yeah. And this is the perfect place to get it done to. People are here, talents are here. Couldn't think of a better place to actually establish roots, and develop new ideas, and even redevelop old trends and aspects.
Do you think this is something that's going to take root and actually become real? Do you think it's going to materialize?
I don't see why not. I don't see why not at all. It would be wonderful if it does become reality. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for your time. end of the 116th Street project. This is actually the part where 116th Street borders the river, and as you can see, there's more of a concentration on this area. So we're gonna try and find out what exactly is going on with this specific portion of the street. So if you could give us a little background information on why it seems so focused right in this area, like there's a lot of clustered buildings and things like that. You know, what's the importance of this area in particular?
Well, first of all, this is the Harlem Community Technology Park. What we decided is in this area we would end 116th Street with a community college. In other words, we would bring the entire community to this area and draw them up in here so that they can increase the amount of jobs and things that are needed here in the community. Would you like to say something?
No. Well, this site is the site of an existing abandoned factory at the end of 116th, which basically takes up this perimeter, the outline of what we've done here. It's about 5.5 acres, and it's basically an eyesore in the community. So we felt that such a large site would be a great opportunity to provide the community what it needs, which, you know, education as well as job training, which would gear the community towards more self-sufficiency. We divided up the project into, you know, basic 5 buildings, including a theater, a science building, a resource center, a main academic building, as well as retail and some open space, some waterfront activity on the pier to act as an attraction to the site and to East Harlem as a whole. We feel that, you know, this project would be sort of the catalyst to improve the entire neighborhood. This would be a good starting point.
I saw on the other side of the street, on the other extreme, they had more cultural centers. Do you think this would be kind of the coming full circle of that with the educational center on the other side of the on the other extreme? Do you think that kind of brings it full circle into making this more of a unified community with the culture on one side, education on another side, and in the middle would just be people using those resources to the best of their ability?
Yeah, I think that'll create a nice balance of education as well as entertainment and culture. I think they're both needed. They both should be explored in East Harlem.
And how did you get involved with this project? And do you think projects like this, in terms of classes, help you to become more interested if you maybe had lost that interest through a grueling college process? Do you think that may have brought you to become more interested in that subject at the end of your college period?
Wow.
How did you get interested?
Well, first of all, I think as a whole, looking at the entire community, right, there's great need for improvement in this community. And I think that's one of the major focuses of everyone who's participated in this today. I think it's really important for students to get involved in this kind of work, because basically what you're going to do is you're going to come out of college and you want to bring back something to the community. You know, these are areas that need a lot of improvement, and that's one of the things that interested me most on this project. And I think just being able to provide something really resourceful for the community, which is a community college, I think that's one of the basic needs for a community to become, you know, start to improve. Would you like to add anything?
How long do you think it would take before this project became a reality, and what kind of energy and cooperation from the community would that take, and do you see that as a something that's going to be realized in the near future? And if not, how long do you think a project like this would take to become a reality?
Well, actually, this project this Harlem Community College was actually proposed and was planned by architects and a planning firm as well as a design firm, which is where we got the idea from in the beginning. But that project was never taken to the next level because, I mean, we don't really know why, but it's probably funding or political issues. But the site is now bought by some developer who wants to put a huge big box retail covering the whole site, which will create, a lot of vehicular traffic, large areas of parking for retail. We feel that that's not something that should be done, and that the community college is a much better idea. I think that's the consensus opinion. But in terms of getting built, I mean, it would have to be done in phases like most colleges. So it'll take, maximum like 10 years being built, building by building, occupy one building and then have construction going on the others.
We're here with Gary Johnson at the site of the 116th Street renovation conference, I guess, and he's here observing the plans, and I just want to ask him what's his take on all of this, and how do you feel about this kind of project?
I think this is great because for the first time it involves not only architects but community members and students to participate in a project that could possibly reshape the lives of the community on 116th Street. Therefore, it's a very vital project.
And how do you feel that this plan, just by looking at the plans and everything, do you think that this is something that's going to become a reality?
Well, I think this is a start. I think the community has to get more involved. The city government has to get more involved. And we can use this as a jumping point. With their involvement, we can get the funds together to provide the kind of services and to do the kind of rehabilitation that's needed in the community. But I think this is definitely a good start.
Is this something that you, with your practice, will want to get involved in if it becomes a reality? Would you want to be one of the people that help to make this and take this from being a plan to being the actual buildings and actual community renovation?
Oh, I'd love to. I mean, this is my community. I went to school here. I graduated from the City College School of Architecture. I live not too far away, so this is something that I definitely want to participate in.
How effective do you think this is going to be in maybe rejuvenating the community and making it more of a true community rather than separate groups in separate areas?
I think you're always going to have your separate groups, but the separate groups have to learn to cooperate together. With the participation that this is brought together, I think this is possibly a good indication of what can happen. This project's going to take many years to come to fruition. It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take your work and my work and everybody else's. And I think that if you look around the room with the people that are here, it's a quite diverse membership. You have students, you have people of all different ethnicities, you have black, you have white, you have people of color, Asian, whatever. And I think this is something that will be very good for the community.
And do you think that this program is going to maybe put this neighborhood more on the map than it was before and make it into more of a positive place where people want to come rather than just, skip that stop on the train,
Definitely. I don't think they'll skip the stop after all this is done. Harlem is going through a revitalization, and 116th Street is a good start of it. 116th Street, 125th Street, 135th, they all have something to offer. And I think each has a little bit different in terms of a flavor, in terms of a lifestyle. You might have a more Hispanic presence on 116th Street. You might have more of a black presence on 125th Street. But there's still groups that socioeconomically are related and get along. And so I think we have more to offer the city than just the individual streetscapes on 116th or 125th. You have to look at this in terms of an amalgamation of communities. And that community can make the entire city richer as a whole.
Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.